again, and welcome back. Here we are. We're doing a little bit more. I think this will only be a little short video. I've got a few minutes spare this morning, so I've come back to continue on with the fitting of the new water system pump, pipes, taps on the Narrowboat here, the Brum Tug Bullock Smithy. Better than the two little plastic taps that always leaked, always had a flood when you tried to switch them on. So yeah, we'll try and get this fixed back now, and then I'll come back and show you. As I've got these nice and tight, or no, not overly tight. They've got in here we've got a little rubber O-ring that tightens up, and I think they'll be fine. Obviously, yeah, we'll check them when I put the pump on and try the water, you know, see. But there we go. Yeah, we'll come back in a minute and show you more. Well, there we go. I've managed to fix the taps down. It's quite tricky to get under the sink because it's so far back and there's not a lot of headroom. There again, unfortunately, there's no way I would get in there with the camera. But it's getting nice and tight. A little tip here. I mean, if like me, you're on your own, I had to wedge a screwdriver kind of under there like that, because you can see that under sort of kind of like that, and one the other side. To stop the thing moving about while I tighten the nut up underneath it. But I'm really pleased with those. I mean, as I say, I think with free postage, it's amazing that tap only cost me about, as I think it was $14.99, or I can't exactly remember the exact, but it was under £15, which, you know, it'll be super. You know, it's brilliant. You know, I'm really pleased with that, as I say. And there we go. So I'll try and show you underneath in a minute. And obviously, you do want any fix on a boat. I think, no matter what boat it is, boats are always, particularly with a diesel engine and just general moving about, the wind bump, you know, your boats will always bump about. You want things pretty tight because everything is far subject to a greater vibration than maybe in a house. Obviously, you know, you might like to go to the extremes of putting, you know, some thread seal or Loctite thread, you know, adhesive on things, but I don't, you know, as I say, I think that'll be fine. But things do work loose on boats because of the vibration. There's no question of that. So you do want it as tight as possible. I'm just going to try and get that a wee bit tighter on there, but I'm really pleased with that. It's brilliant. I don't know whether you'll see this. I'm now right under the sink looking upwards. That's the fitting that backs onto the underside of the work surface there, and I don't know if it's going to even focus for me, but it's very tight. It's great. I'm really pleased with how that's gone in. And there again, up here, the boat is very dry. It doesn't appear to have, you know, suffered in any way from any water leakage at any time. So I'm really pleased with how that's gone in. And obviously I've got the two tails coming out. As you can see there, there's a hot and a cold there, which I can connect up to my speed fit, my John Guest speed fit fittings and pipe, and clip those in nicely. So yeah, there we go. That's the taps now fitted. As I was saying the other day, I do find if you're doing any amount, or however small or however great, using this speed fit pipe, it is a real plus to have one of the cutters like I've got here, and the pipe has got marks down it as guides as well, but I mean, basically, you know, it's so easy. You just line it up onto your mark or onto one of the marks on the pipe, and then, you know, it just cuts it so beautifully. Yeah, I think, you know, as you can probably see that end, you can probably see, hopefully there's sort of little marks sort of where my thumb is. Can you see that? So you've got little marks going all the way up the pipe, so you can cut to one of those, and as I say, it does make such a, you know, super job. I must be honest, I still like to just check the pipe and make sure there's no sort of little bits of burrs or bits of plastic on it. I think this is where the problems sort of come from. If it doesn't sort of, obviously this goes through an O-ring seal into the fittings, and you want it square and sort of fitting well into that, and nice, you know, as nicely cut. I think when you start hacksawing anything, it can get very jagged, and it's okay, you know, you could sandpaper it or file it down, but these plastic pipe cutters do make such a super job of cutting the pipe. I would recommend, as I say, definitely investing, and they're not very expensive neither while you're using this pipe, so definitely. Well, there we go. I've now extended the piece of pipe along and up, and put a connector on to take those tap connectors, and put a batten there, because I think with this, I certainly think with this sort of speed fit pipe, it wants to be clipped really quite, you know, often and made secure, as I say. Vibration is a big thing on a boat, and so I should probably put some more clips in here. I think I should even put eventually put a batten where my finger's running down to hold that one upright. The flexible pipe, I'm not too worried about that. Where it goes into the metal flexi. You know, that'll take its chance. It should be fine, I think. You know, it's free. It's not round anything. It's back on the waste pipe, but that won't. You know, by the time that's, you know, on the batten and pulled away, it'll be free from that. That's really good. I'm really pleased with how that's going. I'm virtually ready. You know, I could put a blanking piece on around this other side if we come. Bring the light round. If I put a this, I've got another cold feed coming off here, which is going up, and I'll explain more on that in a little bit. But if I blank that off temporarily, you know, put a stop end on it, you know, I could. There's no reason now I couldn't temporarily hook the pump up to the wiring there, and try and see, you know, how it all configures, and whether any of this leaks or whether it's going to be okay, you know, see what I think to it all. So that'd be quite interesting. In the next video we'll probably do that. As I'm really pleased with how the taps fit. They look really good, and I've got the sink waste to repair. This white worktop, I'm not too worried about this. It's a strange sort of surface. I think it's a bit of plywood that has been covered with something. Brummagem boats, and I think this is original. You had them fitted to your own spec, or you could do a lot of the work. It might have been that somebody, you know, bought it and did a lot of the work themselves, you know. But I think from what I've got the original build spec, and I think this was part of the fit out that Brummagem boats did. It's a bit of plywood that's been covered with something, but I have an idea on that I'm going to, you know, cover that up with something which we'll come on to much later on, perhaps in a video. But so the taps, they look really well there. You know, I'm pleased. I'm so pleased with those. They look brilliant. They've got to be so much better than what was there, and they're just the right scale. They're not too big, they're not too small, they're sort of, and they're really fitted in there. Well, I haven't spoken before about how I intend, obviously, to get hot water back on board this BrumTug Bullock Smithy. We used to have a little Paloma water heater just fitted in there, in that space there. You can see there's the old flue up here for it. That failed miserably. I think the switch, the kind of control had gone on it, and they reckon it was leaking as well. The gas valve was leaking slightly, and I mean, it could well have been fitted when the boat was new, so it had done extremely well. So I've taken that off, and like I've said before, this is now a gas-free boat. So I decided to try to fit a small calorifier, and here you can see it. It was difficult to find a location on this boat. I thought about the engine compartment, which is very tight, being traditional. It's not a lot of room in there. Then there was this cupboard here, which was basically just used for engine oil, tools, and that kind of thing. and I thought that would make a great, it's quite strong, it's got a wonderful strong base on it, it's very substantial, it'll easily take the weight of this small calorifier when it's full of water, and it would almost be like a sort of mini airing cupboard almost in there, I thought. So that's the intended plan. Now the next question is, how do we heat the inner coil so as to get the hot water? Well, on this boat the engine is a Vetus, and I thought, right, it's a water cooled engine, we'll take the water off the water cooling, put it round the inner coil, and that will heat the calorifier. Done that before on a couple of boats, fitted calorifiers, and it's worked fine. I knew Vetus did a small kit to adapt your engine, which I think, going from memory, was quite a substantial lot of, you know, amount of money. I think it was £80–90, and I contacted Vetus and asked them, you know, can I buy this kit? You know, how is it easy to fit? And very kindly, their a technical guy from Vetus came back to me in a long email explaining that I'm sure I could buy the kit, but on these smaller engines, on the smaller water-cooled Vetus, and I will put the model number either in the description or I'll put it up on text for you, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. And he said that they run very cool, and it would take an awful long time for even a very small calorifier to get warm that way if I bought this kit. In his email he kindly suggested another way that I could adapt the engine, but that meant taking bits off the engine, drilling parts and then retapping parts, and although I'm sure I could have put my mind and done it, it looked quite complex to me. And then at the end of doing that, there was no guarantee that I, you know, would have success and it would heat the calorifier. So I sort of gave up on that one really, and then started looking at cheap Webasto diesel fired water heaters. And obviously that will lead on into the next video that I'll try and post the same time as this, because I have put together a set of parts and bought a Webasto which I intend to fit on this boat, which will heat the inner coil, and then the hot water will take off from there. It has got the little 1 kilowatt immersion heater on this for the shore power, which will be great in the marina. And as you can see, I've started trying to just see how it's going to fit in, if there's going to be room. I've just started trying a few fittings on there to see how, you know, it's all going to fit. You can use the push fittings on this. I think they are rated to 65 degree, so there shouldn't be any issue. Shore just assured me that it will be fine using the push fittings on this system. And so that's the intention, to fit this little calorifier there. And there again, it's no great distance. There's only going to be 2 hot water takeoffs, which will be, one will come along here and then to the kitchen tap there, which we've fitted a new tap, and the other one will go under the floor, and there's a small shower just behind there, where you can see that the table sits onto it. Just there's a shower there. So there's only 2 hot water takeoffs. So it's a small boat. You know, the most people you're going to have stopping on here is 2. I suppose 3 at a push. Hopefully that will work very well. And I just thought I'd explain that, because I hadn't explained that perhaps very well. You've seen me put a tap and there's no hot water supply there yet. I haven't brought that back down to the tap as yet. So there we go. It's a little Shorejust calorifier, which I can't remember. There again, I'll put how many literage that holds. I'll put it up in text on the video, and hopefully that will work very well. I've been well impressed with their products before. I've never had any issues with them, and they've always worked extremely well. So I hope that explains that, and we'll see how it all fits together and how it all works. And in future videos, you know, we'll connect it all up, and then eventually fit the Webasto, which will have to go behind into the engine compartment. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Do come back, and as I say, we'll carry on with this job at a future date.